to our podcast. We are so glad to have you guys here. My name is Erdina.
And I'm Shah. And I'm Africa.
Okay, so today we'll be talking about something that almost every student and even parents actually experience, which is digital learning.
Yes, whether it's online quizzes, video lectures, or apps that somehow track your snack breaks more than your study time.
We've all been there. Like when you open your notes, but suddenly you are deep into meme browsing for 30 minutes.
And before you know it, boom, it's lunchtime.
Relatable.
So we'll be unpacking how digital learning really works in real life, beyond like tech buzzwords, and explore both its powers and its limitations. So
Let's jump right in.
So guys, welcome to our section one, which is digital learning overview and impact. So, let's start foundationally, guys. What exactly is digital learning?
At its core, digital learning means using digital tools and platforms to support or expand the learning process. This includes virtual classrooms, mobile learning apps, interactive simulations, AI-powered study tools, video lectures, and online forums.
That's a lot. Also, guys, it's not just videos or PDFs, it's interactive and adaptive experiences. For instance, platforms like Khan Academic or Duolingo adjust difficulty in real time based on how well you are doing. As for the real life example, if there's one student struggle with algebra, their teacher assign an online platform that adjusts each question's difficulty based on previous answers. Over weeks, the student improved faster than with traditional homework alone because the system was personalized.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the power of digital learning. It's not just information delivery, but it is a very meaningful engagement.
Exactly, Dina. Instead of one lecture fits all, it shapes itself to you.
And that encourages deeper understanding, especially when students are actively involved and not passively consuming just the information.
Yeah. What I could say here is that no discussion about digital learning is complete without acknowledging the COVID-19 pandemic's role.
Before 2020, digital tools existed, but many schools still prefer traditional face to face teaching.
Then COVID-19 hit and schools had to switch overnight to online education. For the real life example, in Malaysia, many schools moved to Google Classroom, Zoom sessions, WhatsApp groups for class announcements, and video assignments. For some students, this was exciting, but for others, it was overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree with that. A study about learning platforms during the pandemic, it shows digital tools where the only way education continued is but what the student learned well depended heavily on how interactive the lessons were.
And that's a key point. It wasn't just going digital, it was how digital learning was executed that mattered most.
Some teachers recorded long voice notes that were can be a bit confusing to the students. Others created short tutorials with checkpoints, and that group had much better student engagement.
Yeah, so digital learning wasn't just a pandemic necessity. It also became a catalyst for lasting change in how education really works.
True.
Next is youth adaptation to technology. Do you guys know that there is a myth that all young people are automatically good at digital learning just because they're on social media?
But guys, being good at TikTok doesn't automatically make you good at educational tech. As for the real life example, if the university student might be fluent at editing Instagram reels but struggle to use reference management software like Zotero or Mendeley when writing academic papers.
Yeah, so this reflects a bigger truth, which is digital fluency. It doesn't really mean a digital literacy because digital fluency is basically mean being comfortable with technology. Meanwhile, digital literacy is using technology effectively for academic or professional purposes.
I agree with Dina and Ika. So schools and educators need to focus not just on tools, but on teaching students how to use those tools critically and purposefully.
Yes.
And that's where critical thinking intersects with digital literacy, which is students must evaluate sources, select the right tools, and use them intelligently.
Yes. So we're gonna be moving to section two, which is advantages of digital learning. First, we're gonna be talking about flexible and paced learning. So I feel like one of the big advantage of digital learning are flexibility, which means that students can learn at their own pace.
Yes, even if you are not a morning person, no worries. You can watch the math lesson at 10 a.m. instead of yawning to read at 8 a.m.
And research shows that students who study at their own pace often perform better academically, especially when they can pause, reflect, and revisit complex lessons. Do you know that there's actually someone that I know which is a slow learner? She started to post a chemistry video multiple times until she fully understood the concept, something that might not be possible in a real-time lecture.
Yeah, because it supports a very cognitive science findings that repetition, which means that it revisiting information at intervals. Significantly, it also improves memory and long-term retention.
So, digital learning lets students control their learning rhythm. It is a big win for autonomy and confidence.
Next, let's talk about interactive and engaging tools.
Let's go!
Digital learning can be highly interactive. It's not just videos, it could be in form of quizzes, instant feedback, badges, and gamification elements.
Apps like Quizzes, Kahoot, and Duolingo make learning feel more like gaming, which boosts motivation and also participation. There is also a real life example. In one classroom, students played an interactive history quiz. The participation was 70% higher than in traditional lectures, and students reported that they remembered facts more clearly than traditional methods.
Yeah, that's because interactive learning it triggers multiple brain systems such as visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, which it actually strengthens your learning pathways.
And when you see your progress chart or earn badges, your brain gets little dopamine boost, which helps with motivation.
Now, let's talk about global access to knowledge. Perhaps the most powerful benefit is access. Students are no longer limited to local teachers or textbooks.
True, because you could learn coding from MIT professors, philosophy from Oxford lecturers, and even arts from professionals in Tokyo. And you do that all from your own bedroom. A real life example shows that a student who used free online courses to learn AI foundation, it then secured an internship abroad without ever leaving Malaysia.
That's global learning without borders.
Exposure to diverse perspectives also strengthens analytical thinking. Students learn to compare, contrast, and evaluate different viewpoints.
Yeah, and that's not just information. That is the higher order thinking. Okay, guys. So now we're gonna be moving on to section three, which is challenge of digital learning. So for the first one is screen fatigue and digital exhaustion. But digital learning also has challenges. I would say it's starting with screen fatigue.
You know that feeling when you've been staring at a screen all day and suddenly your brain feels like it's buffering?
Yes, and research actually confirms that this feeling is real. A study published in Scientific Reports found that prolonged screen exposure can lead to digital fatigue, which affects students' concentration, motivation, and emotional well being.
Yeah, I mean, researchers also found that when students spend a very long hours attending online classes, completing digital assignments, and communicating through screens, Their brains experience a very cognitive overload.
which basically means the brain gets overwhelmed from processing too much digital information at once.
Exactly. And another study by Witherhold 2020 on Zoom fatigue explains that constant video interaction requires more mental effort because people have to focus on facial expression, eye contact, and multiple visual cues at the same time.
As for the real life examples, I would say, for instance, one university student reported feeling physically exhausted after attending 4 consecutive online lectures. Even though the students understood the content, they still felt mentally drained by at the end of the day.
For them, and many students say they feel more tired after online classes compared to physical classes.
And that's why digital well-being practices are so important. Things like taking regular breaks, stretching, adjusting screen brightness, and using ergonomic study setups.
Yeah. Some experts also recommend the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds to reduce your eye strain.
Next, the digital divide. Another major challenge of digital learning is the digital divide.
Not all students have equal access to technology.
Some students have high-speed internet, personal laptops, and a quiet study space.
While others rely on shared device or unstable internet connections.
I agree with you, Afika,
For
because
them,
according to UNESCO reports on global education, millions of students worldwide face learning difficulties during online schooling because they lack reliable internet or digital devices.
Now I see. I mean, in fact, studies focusing on Southeast Asia also highlight that students in a rural or lower income experience and connectivity problems during online learnings.
Hmm. I also think about this one real life example. Imagine there's two students in the same class. One has fast Wi-Fi and a personal laptop, and the other uses a shared phone with limited mobile data.
Hmm. Even when the teachers upload a 30-minute lecture video, the first students can watch it easily, but second student might be very struggle just to load the video on.
Yes, Dina. So, even though both students have the same ability and motivation, their learning opportunities are not equal.
And that's why many education experts emphasize that digital learning should be supported by government policies, affordable internet access, and better technological infrastructure.
Otherwise, digital learning could unintentionally widen educational inequality.
Next, distraction and multitasking. Another challenge is distraction. Digital environments are full of notifications, social media apps, and entertainment platforms.
Yes, Ika. And trying to study physics while scrolling Instagram?
Exactly.
Not good for.
And research shows that what we call multitasking isn't really multitasking.
Yeah, because psychologists like Clifford Nass from Stanford University, he found that when people multitask with digital media, they actually switch the attention rapidly between tasks, which reduces focus and memory retention.
Yes, Dina. So instead of doing two things at once efficiently, your brain keeps restarting each task.
And that constant switching makes it a bit harder to process information deeply. As for the real life example,
Thank you. As for the real life example, one study found that students who check their phone during online lectures perform more significantly worse on comprehension tests compared to students who keep their phone away.
Yes, and another research study in the Journal of Educational Psychology reported that students who multitasked while studying retained almost 50% less information than those who studied without distractions.
That's a huge difference.
Which it shows that digital learning requires an intentional focus and discipline.
Yes, because sometimes the best productivity tool is simply turning on do not disturb mode.
Or put your phone away.
Put your phone away, guys.
Yeah.
While
Yes.
studying, don't play your phone. Okay, guys, we're gonna be moving on to section 4, how to improve digital learnings. So first of all, we're gonna be discussing about digital well-being practices. So for me, I have one tip, like the one that I said just now, which is the use of 20-20-20 rule. So basically, it means that every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds.
I also have my own tip where schedule focus study blocks with breaks like 50 minutes on and then 10 minutes off.
Oh yeah, that's very good.
The tip number three is to turn off irrelevant notifications while studying. It is a small adjustment, but it gives a big impact on sustained focus.
Next, blended learning. Blended learning combines the best of digital and physical education.
For example, students might study theory online and then meet in class to discuss, debate, and apply. And I have one real life example for this. In one Singapore school, students used online platforms for theory and came together once a week for interactive labs, and also performance improved over solely online or solely in person models.
Yeah, that's actually because human interaction it focuses on discussion, peer feedback, collaborative learning. Because all of those stuff it still matters in education.
I agree with you, Dina.
That's true. On to the next one, which is strengthening digital literacy. Digital literacy isn't just using tech, it's about using it wisely.
This means that evaluating sources, recognizing misinformation, navigating tools with purpose. As for the real life examples, a student who verified sources before citing them got higher grades than one who copied the first search result.
That's the difference between information consumption and information mastery.
Nice one.
So, for section 5, we're going to be talking about roles of teachers and parents in digital learning. So, for the first one, teachers work as digital facilitators, meaning that we have talked a lot about technology itself, but digital learning also depends heavily on the people guiding it, especially teachers.
Right, Dina? And technology alone doesn't teach students. Teachers still play a crucial role in guiding, explaining, and structuring learning experiences.
In fact, in digital learning environments, teachers often become facilitators rather than just lecturers.
Yeah, true. And instead of simply delivering just information, they guide students to explore questions and apply knowledge using digital tools.
Mm, For instance, some teachers use collaborative platforms like shared documents where students work together in real time. Instead of giving answers directly, the teachers monitors the discussion and prompt students with questions like what evidence supports your idea. Can you find another source to confirm that?
That approach encourages students to think critically rather than passively memorizing facts.
True. And that is an important shift. Digital learning works best when teachers design activities that encourage exploration and not just some basic information delivery.
Next, we move on to the role of parents in supporting digital learning. Parents also play an important role, especially for younger students.
During the pandemic, many parents suddenly became informal learning assistants at home.
But supporting digital learning doesn't mean that parents must know every subject. Sometimes it's just simply about creating a supportive environment.
There is one real life example. For example, one parent created a simple rule at home. During study time, everyone, including the parents, keep their phones away. That helped the students stay focused because the environments support the concentration.
That is so nice. Parents can also help by encouraging balanced screen habits and reminding students to always take breaks.
That's true, Ika. When teachers, parents, and students work together, digital learning it becomes much more effective.
That's right, Dina.
Okay, so for section 6, the future of digital learning. First, we'll be looking at emerging technologies in education. Let's look ahead a little bit. Digital learning, it isn't static, it's evolving rapidly.
Yeah, new technologies like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and augmented reality are starting to transform how students learn.
For example, guys, virtual reality allows students to explore environments that would normally be impossible to visit.
There is also a real life example that imagine studying ancient history and being able to virtually walk through ancient Rome. I mean, how cool is that? Seeing buildings, markets, and daily life in ancient Rome is just very, very cool.
Or medical students practicing surgeries through realistic simulations before ever touching real patients.
Hmm, that's so interesting. These immersive experiences make learning more engaging and memorable.
So there is one research insight that research by PwC found that learners using virtual reality training learn up to 4 times faster than those in traditional classroom settings.
Meanwhile, a report by World Economic Forum suggests that technologies like AI and immersive learning tools will become central to education as schools adapt to future workforce needs.
Hmm.
Hmm.
These technologies don't replace teachers, but they can enhance how knowledge is experienced and understood.
Let's move on to lifelong learning in the digital age. Another big change is that learning no longer ends when school ends.
Yes, digital platforms allow people to continue learning new skills throughout their lives.
This is the idea which called lifelong learning.
As for the real life example, someone might study marketing in university but later then coding through online courses to expand their career opportunities.
Or teachers themselves constantly update their skills through online training programs.
In today's rapidly changing world, continuous learning is essential, and digital platform makes those learning possible.
As for the research insight, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, continuous skill development is becoming essential because many jobs today require skills that change over time.
That is so true. Similarly, LinkedIn learning reports that professionals increasingly use online learning platforms to stay competitive in the workforce.
So, in conclusion, education isn't limited to classroom anymore. It becomes a continuous journey of learning. Okay, so for the last section, skill youth developed through digital learning. First, we'll be looking at critical thinking and problem solving. So, beyond academic knowledge, digital learning also help youth develop important life skills, which especially critical thinking and problem solving.
Yes, Dina, when students learn online, they often need to search for information independently instead of relying entirely on their teachers.
Hmm. But guys, the internet contains both accurate and misleading information. So students must evaluate what they read first.
Yeah, true, Ika. For example, if a student search for information about climate change, they might encounter scientific articles, opinion blogs, and even misinformation.
So they have to ask questions like, is this source reliable? Who wrote this article? Is there evidence supporting these claims?
Hmm. So, why if there's one university student writing a research paper, they need to compare three different articles on the same topic. By analyzing the credibility of each source, the student can develop stronger arguments in their assignment.
That's true. This kind of analysis is a key component of critical thinking, which is essential not only in education but also in everyday decision making.
Yes, Dina, according to research from UNESCO, digital learning environments encourage students to actively evaluate and analyze information rather than simply memorizing facts.
Hmm. Similarly, studies from Pew Research Center shows that students who frequently engage with online research tasks tend to develop stronger information evaluation and problem-solving skills.
Yeah, true. So basically, digital learning doesn't just provide information, it also teaches students how to think about information.
Moving on to creativity and content creation. Another skill digital learning encourages is creativity.
Students are no longer limited to writing essays. Many digital assignments allow them to create videos, podcasts, infographics, or digital presentations.
Instead of just simply explaining a concept in words, students can combine visuals, audio, and storytelling to communicate their ideas.
Yes, Dina. For instance, some students explain scientific concepts through short animated videos on platforms like YouTube or even TikTok.
Others even design infographics summarizing complex topics, making information easier to understand.
True, Ika. I feel like this creative approach not only just improve understanding, but also strengthen communication skills.
And honestly, sometimes a well designed infographic can explain a concept much faster than a long paragraph.
Research by World Economic Forum highlights creativity as one of the most important skills for the future workforce. And digital tools allow students to practice these skills during their education.
So, additionally, studies from Harvard Graduate School of Education it suggests that digital media projects such as video creation and a multimedia presentation can significantly improve students' engagement and creative expression.
So, digital learning doesn't just help students consume information, it empowers them to create and even share knowledge.
So, in conclusion, digital learning is very powerful, but understanding it deeply helps you use it intentionally.
Balance creativity, strategy, not just access, but to make it work.
So, at the end of the day, digital tools are support system, not just shortcut.
So,
Thank you for listening.
stay curious, stay balanced, and keep
Learning!
Bye-bye.